Good morning, this is the Silly Moustache here to answer some of your questions kindly sent in, as per my request. And forgive me in advance if I don't pronounce your names or handles properly. The first one is from Wojciech Branny. How did you get to buy your first archtop? What was your starter? And have you any favourite performers from the swing era? My first archtop was actually a Hofner guitar, which I bought for £20 to try and use for a slide guitar. I sold it shortly after to a flatmate for £25, a £5 profit. It was quite a nice guitar, as I remember, but I didn't use it as a proper archtop at all. In 2006, I really got entranced by the sort of thing that David Rawlings was doing on his Epiphone Olympic with Gillian Welsh, and I thought I'd like to try an archtop. I was always kind of interested in swing, Western swing guitar and things like that. So I looked around for something that was affordable, and I found this guitar on eBay. This is a Harmony Monterey, mid-60s I think, and it was being sold by a very nice gentleman who had a large collection of guitars that he was disposing of, mainly Harmonies and Stellars. And we got into a dialogue, and then I found that I was seriously ill and had to go into hospital for a heart procedure. And I contacted him, told him about that, and said, could you please take it off the market and hold it for me until I get out of hospital, if I get out of hospital. Well, I did, and he did, and after I contacted him again, because I was in no condition to travel, bless him, he brought it down for me, and it's in perfect condition. I've never seen such a good neck, good straight accurate neck on a Harmony before, and it's in perfect condition apart from two little dents that I made myself when I moved an ornament and dropped it on it. Since then I have obtained a 1934 Gibson L4, which is a beauty, and an Eastman AR805, which has the warmest sound of all of them. My plan was to learn to play Western swing and some American songbook pieces, but so far pretty much I'm an abject failure about it. The swing era, very interesting question. The obvious names for me would be Django Reinhardt, and as a rhythm guitarist, Freddie Green, but there's also Royce Smeck, the Wizard of the Strings, Nick Lucas, Eddie Lang, and to an extent Charlie Christian, who really sort of brought in the electric style of playing and turned the guitar much more into a lead instrument, I guess. Western swing, I can't think of any of the older guys, Bob Wills band of course, but I would say Ranger Doug, and it's because it's the cowboy way, and Whit Smith of the Hot Club of Cowtown. Look them up on YouTube, you'll find some interesting stuff. So thank you, Wojciech, for that. Michael Mcllwrath asked me my views on topwoods and whether I'm a mahogany or a rosewood back and side sort of guy, and why. Justify your statements. Well, Michael, I think there's actually quite a lot of nonsense about topwoods, and I'm only going to touch on spruce. There are, three types of spruce in the States. On the east side there's red spruce, on the west side there's Sitka, and there's Engelmann, also I think on the west side. They're all good tone woods. If you have two trees growing in a forest, one will be possibly better than the next one. In Europe, whatever you call it, whether it's German, Italian, Carpathian, or any sort of nationality, they're all the same species. So the whole point is to get a good piece of wood, but I really do believe that the cutting of the wood, the quarter sawing of it, and the aging of it, and the luthier who puts it together is the most important. I have only one Adirondack stroke red spruce guitar that I'm aware of. All the rest are Sitka, and that suits me fine. Backs and sides. When I used to play Martins, I used to say that I preferred rosewood, but I think that was mainly because I liked the finish of a style 28 or 35 over a D18. But now I have, for instance, I have four Collings Dreadnoughts. Two of them are with mahogany and two of them are with East Indian rosewood. Don't have any Brazilian rosewood or Madagascar. Not interested in them. And I love them all. There is a slight tone difference, nothing that your audience would ever hear, but as a player I can detect more complexity, deepness in the rosewood, and more direct projection in the mahogany, and of course there's also maple. Maple is a perfectly good in back and sides. It accentuates even more that mahogany direct progression. Archtops are built with maple, of course, and my Waterloo WL12 is built with maple, and it sounds fine to me. So thank you for that. Again, I think it's about the maker than the material. Ed Fulginiti asked me my take on Taylor's Nuvi bracing. Ed, I'm terribly sorry, I really can't comment on this because I don't know anything about Taylor guitars. I'm sure they're very good. I've played a couple, but they're just not my style. There's nothing wrong with them at all. I think they've managed to get themselves a good wedge of the market, and more power to them, but I don't know anything about their bracing methods, I'm sorry. You also asked me about making bar chords and things like that, and I'm sorry I didn't see that when I prepared this, so I'll come back to that on a separate video if I may. Bernie Girardin, he asked me my opinion about the use of octave mandolins. What type of music singing? Well, thank you, Bernie. Basically, I love them. I first saw one being played by Tim O'Brien, who's such a talented and thorough musician. I think he could get a great sound out of a frying pan, frankly. But I think his was made by Nugget. And then I saw Eli West playing with Cahalan Morrison. And I love the style. I love the way that they merged that into their new old-time sort of music. I bought a Hofner archtop guitar and had it converted to an octave mandolin, and it sounded phenomenal, but the 25-inch scale was just a little bit too long to make mandolin chords. Anyway, it's been sold to a gentleman who seems to love it, and he plays, I think, largely traditional British sort of music. Maxwell Fan 55 asked, he said, I mentioned recently on another page, but your first-hand experience and advice regards shipping of guitars for sale or purchase would be invaluable. And the footfalls that we make, and apprehension about couriers, loss, breakages, returns, insurance, etc. I have purchased 3 guitars from the United States which have been shipped to me. One by a dealer in Seattle, and 2 by private individuals on the East Coast. All of them arrived perfectly safely and on time, and with no problems, apart from the shop in Seattle didn't follow the right instructions, and therefore cost me a large amount more than necessary in paying excise duties and VAT, which is our purchase tax here. Everything else worked fine. I've shipped a number of instruments in the UK and to Europe and Scandinavia. All of them have arrived safely intact, and I had no problems with that. The last thing I shipped was that octave mandolin or Hofner conversion, and I looked around. I don't have a particular preferred courier. I don't do it enough to do that. I go on a comparison site and I find someone that's got a suitable offering. I found that there were no British carriers that were prepared to accept insurance values for cost, for value. They insure you for £10 or £50 or something like that, but nothing that would compensate you for any disasters. But saying that, I do make sure when I package a guitar up to sale that I get a shipping box, the sort of thing that guitars are sent to dealers in, which are pretty tough cardboard. I stuff them out, I pad them back and forwards with an extra lump of cardboard either side of the case, the hard case, and I put the instrument in the case, stuffed out, especially under the neck. I loosen the tension of the strings, but I don't completely relieve it. Just go down a semitone or a tone, and I pack it so there's no possible movement of the guitar inside the case. Then I pack the case inside the shipping box so there's no possible movement in that, and I tape it like crazy. And so far, touch wood, I haven't had any problems. That's all I can really tell you about that. Ilia Dunets asked me, he said it was great that I was playing my mandolin. This is my lovely mandolin. It was made in the Czech Republic by Shiri Lebeda in 2005, I think, or was it 95? No, 95. It's a hand-carved, handmade F5, and the neck, as with all instruments, just happens to suit me perfectly, and I shall never willingly part with it. So it's got a wider, again, like my guitars, it's got a slightly wider nut. It will, of course, be made in European spruce, because that's what everything that's made in Europe is made with. He asked me, he said that mandolins reminded him of ukulele and balalaika. I think the commonality between those three instruments is that they all have strings. I think they develop differently in different places. The ukulele is essentially a Portuguese machete or machete, something like that. Ukulele means jumping flea or something in Hawaiian, I believe. And the balalaika, I believe, emanated in Kazakhstan or Mongolia and has three strings and a very strange triangular shape. I have no idea why they developed it like that. So he also said, did Ilia, that I spoke about doing some research on old steel string guitars. Yes, I am doing that. I've got a chronology worked out, but then I realised that it shouldn't be just about American developments. There was a lot of work that went on in Europe, mostly in an area called Sudetenland, which was a disputed territory for a long time between Germany and Czechoslovakia, and during World War II, things and in the Soviet time afterwards, there was a lot of unpleasantness there, and so researching the details is rather difficult. But yes, I will be doing that, and I will be doing that in a series, and I don't know how I'm going to break it up as yet. So thank you, Ilia. PB200559 asked me about my preference of, no, he didn't, he said, there's all sorts of guitars in your collection over the year. You have to take one to a desert island. Which one would it be and why? And what is the best do-it-all guitar? PB, if there was one do-it-all guitar, I wouldn't have any excuse for accumulating the lovely guitars that I have. This is the same question as that, you know, your house is burning down, which one will you take? I guess if I had to reduce my collection to just one, it would be one of my Collings 12 fret dreads. They are the most perfect fit for my hands and for my style. As to which one, I don't know, because each of the four of them are my favourites. So just to finish the last one from a gentleman called Ilosepicks Althetime. Well, the answer to that, first of all, is to buy a blue chip pick, and you'll never lose one of those. So they're too valuable and too good. And he asked me about learning materials for self-taught guitarists. Is there a good source or method to learn music theory? I lose, if I can call you that. I'm the worst possible person to ask this because I never learnt music properly. I certainly don't read notation, can't stand tablature. But what I did do, and of course I started in the late 60s, early 70s, where there was no internet and things like that, and you bought books or you went to a teacher. I was once told by a guitar teacher that I couldn't be taught, but that I would learn, and he was very correct in that. How did I learn? I listened. I wore out records, listening and listening and listening, and I went to clubs and I watched other people playing guitar and I asked questions. And the other thing was I found myself playing with musicians that were better than me. You learn a lot when you need to play up to a standard. My first few years were just strumming E, A and B7 and trying to play blues. And then I started songwriting, started inventing chords that I didn't know how to name. And then I got into bluegrass and country, and really if you could play C, G and D, you were okay. And as you see from my other songs, C, F and G and all that sort of thing. One thing that I did learn that was a revelation was harmonizing the scale. If you can learn that, and this is not the place to try and explain it, then you will be able to learn all the most likely chords that are going to be in any progression for any song. There are now a multitude of online offerings, including things that come to mind are Just in Guitar. There's a rather excitable gentleman from America called Banjo Ben who teaches mandolin and mandolin and banjo and guitar quite well. And of course there's the Stefan Grossmans. One thing I would say is don't be fooled by these things. Learn to play just like whatever your guitar hero may be. It won't happen. You won't learn to be a guitarist that sounds like Jimi Hendrix. You won't be someone that sounds like the Reverend Gary Davis. Learn to play in your style. Adapt it to your style. No one can play guitar like you as well as you. So be your own inspiration. And I'm going to roll that up now. I hope that has been of interest. Thank you for the questions. So thanks for watching my videos. To my 1,300 and something subscribers now, I'm so grateful. And I'm not asking you for any money, you'll note. And so there we are. I'll pack it up now and make another one shortly. Thanks a lot.